Attempt number 2, full attempt number 2. And we will get the clap. Hey, thank you for joining in. Thank you for tuning in to the first video on the Common Goblins channel. I am Glover, and I will be taking you into a dive on my first place P.u.n.k profile. I won locals this last week with it. This is arguably one of my favorite decks. I keep coming back to it, even though it's probably a little old, but I thought I'd show it to you. I have some fun things I tried, may or may not have worked. So I'll start with the main deck. The ratios, for the most part, are what everyone's running, but I thought I'd go through it anyway. Starting off, P.u.n.k Xiamen, 3 copies. Best start in the deck. Cherkuzai. I keep going back and forth between 3 copies of this just because one Madam Spider and one Wagon. This is just, each one searches their respective spell or trap. Madam Spider searches trap, and Wagon searches spell. I play Madam Spider in the main. I just find it, if you end up going first, it's a lot better to have the trap in the main deck. Just makes your inboard a lot stronger. And then going second, it's only 2 cards. And sometimes you can crack the board and then set up your own. If you're going second, like if you're going game 2 or 3 and you know you're going second, you cut it just so you have a little bit more power. You don't have 2 dead cards going second, but I think it's fantastic and it's worth being in the main. 2 Deer Note. This is another card it's great. I kind of want it at 3, but it gets kind of funny because every time I play it 2, sometimes you'll have hands where you draw 1, you go through another, and then you've used both of them before you hit your turn 3. Other times, you don't need but the 2. This is probably a little non-standard. I feel like most people play 2. I like the 3. Right now is a draw format, so it maybe is a little bit not as ideal to run 3, but I always like having the 3. So if you open like Ogre Dance and Xiamen or Cherkuzai and Ogre Dance, you can just bait Ash or another interruption with Ogre Dance and go off with your other starter. And if they don't have it, you just get extra value. 3 Foxy Tune. This plus Xiamen, it makes the P.u.n.k engine and other decks work so well. There's no reason to run anything but 3. 2 Jam Extreme Session. This card's crazy. It's basically just pot of greed each turn, and then some setups you can also draw 2 on your opponent's turn. The fact that it just churns through your deck, if you get hand traps or if you put in trap cards from your side deck, you can just find them off the top. It's so good. I don't like playing any less than 2 because often some people will target it, get rid of it, or they'll deny it, and it turns your downside of paying life into an upside. 1 Nurashi Surprise. I was playing Gabu in this slot for the longest time, and I thought it was dumb to play this card. But after trying it, I realized the deck doesn't have any good way to interact with back row. This is the perfect way to interact with it. Not really a P.u.n.k card by name, but it's basically a P.u.n.k card. 3 Emergent Teleport. There's no reason to run anything less than 3. And then the 3, I'm going to call it the 3 other honorary P.u.n.k cards, is 1 Ghost Ogre. You could actually play more than this. It's actually not a bad card at all right now. I just run the 1 because it's so searchable, so it doesn't. You always see it. And then 1 Psychic Wielder, 1 Psychic Tracker. These are just really good extenders for the deck. Psychic Wielder also has a bonus effect to pop a card when it uses 4 Synchro Summon. That comes up, and it's just nice to have little extra utility pieces that works with the engine. Next, I wanted to go over an idea I had, and I'm not sure that I'm done trying it out. So I am running 1 Psyframe Gamma, 2 Psyframe Epsilon, and 1 Psyframe Driver. The idea behind this is mainly the Epsilon over the Gamma. So Epsilon negates a trap card when it's activated when you have no monsters on the field. You summon it and Driver from deck, hand, or grave. So the idea is when you do your normal fusion play, or when you use emergency teleport and you have nothing on your field zone, you can have one of these in hand, and if they go impulse, you can respond with epsilon. Moving forward, I kind of want to just try the triple epsilon over the gamma, just because right now there's no good way to search the gamma. But I didn't run into anyone running impulse this last time, so I have no real idea if it's a good idea or not. But I think I'm willing to try it again. I love these cards. I wish gamma was back to 3. I miss my boy. But yeah, that's about it on that. Oh, sorry. One final thing. You can also use eTele for any of these to get a level 2 tuner, and that can come up with the extra deck. And so, so I played triple brain controller and 1 brain control. So brain controller is a new common out of Alliance Insight. I think it's a really cool card. I like it when Konami does this type of thing where they give new support to old cards or old engines. So basically, brain controller on normal or special adds brain control. And it's also a tuner. It's a level 1. And after you've paid life points in any way, it doesn't matter. Like as long as it's one of your effects paying it, you can target up any monster on the field and change its level between 1 and 7. So in practice, you can normal or special, brain controller, add brain control, activate brain control, target your opponent's monster, steal it, and then on resolution, you can target the monster you stole to change its level, and then you can synchro into P.u.n.k, Jam, Dragon Drive. So I think it's great. I think it's a really cool card. I think it's a really cool engine. I kind of just read the fact that it adds brain control and was texting all my friends to get me a copy of brain control. I didn't read brain control. So it can only basically steal main deck monsters because the monster you steal has to be able to be normal summoner set. So you can't steal fusions. You can't steal synchros. You can't steal some main deck monsters because they can't be normal summoner set. So immediately this went from a good idea to kind of 4 bricks. It did come up though twice. I did brain control brain controller twice into brain control. The first time I was able to make a synchro monster off of it. The second time it baited super polymerization. So it's not a negative. It definitely did a positive, but as of right now, I probably don't play this. And then for non-engine, I just went generic with triple Imperm, triple Ash, triple Veiler. The Veiler, I know right now, well, actually, I guess Imperm and Veiler aren't super high impact right now. The only reason I did it is going first, you can draw into like 1 or 2 Imperms and set them. And alongside your other interactions, I think it's fantastic. Veiler, in a similar light, you can draw into it on your opponent's turn, or if you have multiple in hand. And then Ash is just generically good. Or it'll hit every deck. And for the extra, first few, so 2 copies of P.u.n.k Amazing Dragon. I love this boss monster. On Synchro Summon, you can bounce monsters up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with either that you control or in your graveyard with different names. So this easily, a minimum of bounce 2. And then most of the time it'll bounce upwards of like 5 or 6. And then also if it survives to your turn, you can resurrect any P.u.n.k monster from the graveyard. So you can do a Deer Note and then get a second revive. You can do any of the level 8s. You can do Xiamen and get a search. It's fantastic. You can do Jam Dragon Drive to also get another search. Speaking of Jam Dragon Drive, I play 2. Really big part of the combo. This is a really big part of follow-up. It can search Ghost Ogre, so it's an interrupt. It can punish your opponent for interacting with your P.u.n.k monsters. I love this card. So good. 1 Rising Carp. This is for your fusion line. Also, if you're able to do something like keep your Amazing Dragon on field, you can summon back your Carp and then use it for Synchro Summon to give your Amazing Dragon a double attack. That's something that's kind of hidden in the text, and I don't think it comes up very often, but it's something to know just so you can always get those OTKs. I play 2 Pep. The reason is it's a very difficult boss monster out, and I find that if you have 2 of it, they often can out 1, but there's no way they can out 2. It's also interesting towers, just because it's not like, I feel like towers of old where you protect the castle. I find myself bringing Punisher out more for an OTK or a last resort. It's never like the game plan. It's never the I'm going to stick one on the board and there's no way they can out it, because it's fairly simple to get rid of, and there's not a lot of hate. Like, there's no goddesses in the extra deck, but someone can just crash into it if you don't get enough life point deficit and just remove it like a vanilla monster. So I find myself making it turn 2 more often, or if I'm just in a dire situation, making it turn 1. Or if it simplifies the game state, you can make it and then not. You can go to battle, not attack, and then it gets so big that there's no way they can out it. This is a new one, Jiraishin. I hope I said that right. Jiraishin, the Cursed Thunder God. So this is like a similar card to Pep, little 11 synchro monster that's a psychic. Every time your opponent activates a card or effect, you gain 300 in resolution. Can be really good when you're paying 6 for every effect. You're not going to gain it back nearly as quickly, but it is kind of nice to offset a little bit. Every 2 activations they give you, you get 1 more punk name, so it's not a bad trade-off. Also, it can quick effect on your opponent's turn, tribute itself, pay 1,500 to either Regeki their board or Harpies their back row. Also, just super sick card. I also play Draco Berserker of the Tinyi, just a really good OTK card, and then sometimes decks have a hard time dealing with banishing effects, so it's there because it's just so easy to make. Dragite, because Carp is actually a water. So Dragite has its spell trap negate, and because things like Baron and Savage aren't around, some decks have a hard time playing through a spell trap negate over a monster negate, just because monster's a little bit more sturdy and a little bit more resilient, but spells and traps haven't really changed a whole lot. And then Barkion, because if you use Psychic Tracker and any punk name, they're both Earths, you can make Barkion. You have this in the deck for like Labyrinth, now Odeon, and there's a whole lot of other like niche cases or certain decks. So it's just nice to have in the deck because you can make it, and there's not a lot of decks that can easily make it right now. Can really catch an opponent off guard. So the rest of them are more like you don't really have to play them. I normally would probably play IPSP and then Typhon in a few of these positions. And Cyframe Lord Omega, this is mainly for the Cyframe cards. If you say you were tributing Carp off the field to summon 2 from deck, you can make this with a Cyframe. If you're like so my bad. So you have Carp on field, tribute to summon 2 from deck. If they impulse you, you can Cyframe Epsilon, make Omega to rip another card. So it's a way to double punish them for trying to stop your Carp. Phaedon Dragster, Naturia Beast, and Herald of the Arclight. So these are mainly in the deck because I had the Brain Controller, because I had this package in the deck. So the idea was I could either steal my opponent's monster and make one of these depending on what would be best against my opponent's deck, or you also don't need to use Brain Control. You just E-Tele for Brain Controller. You can modulate your own monster's level. So it makes it where, say you have Brain Controller and Tracker or Deer Note on field, you could change it or the other one to equal 7 or 5 or 4, and then you could have any of these good options. One thing that I also failed to read on the card is it is a dark. It's not an Earth. I assumed it was an Earth, and that was the main reason why Beast was in it. I cannot make Beast. You technically can. If you had a non-tuner and a punk that are both Earth and this on field, you can modulate, but then we're getting into territories of that won't really happen, and if it does, you can do other things. So I would cut Beast from this list, or I'm cutting Beast from my list. I will say that Dawn Dragster feels really good. I can show a good example. If you have, so your normal punk combo, you end with the field spell on field, and you often revive Shirkuzai because it can quick effect, pay 600 to synchro summon any punk synchro monster from the extra deck. So if you're in a situation like this, where you have Shirkuzai and FA Dong Dragster, you actually don't have to have the field spell out, but it just kind of proves how much it can do. Your opponent activates a spell or trap card, Dawn Dragster effect to negate. It'll lose 2 levels. Then you can share Kuzai to quick sync because Dragster is now a 5. So you can quick sync into Jam Dragon Drive. And then on this chain, you'll do Chainlink 1, Jam Dragon Drive to search, Chainlink 2 to draw, because you paid life for Share Kuzai. You'll get a random draw, and then Jam Dragon Drive can add something like a Ghost Ogre. And then because you have to pay for this, you'll get a second draw. So you end up with you've negated a monster, you've negated a spell trap, you've drawn 2 cards. Either of these could be hand traps, or it could be follow-up, and you have a Ghost Ogre in hand. So you've gone from having 1 interaction to 2 total, and a possible of 4 if these 2 are both hand traps. I really like this interaction. I think it's really cool. It's not as telegraphed as like if you had Share Kuzai and Jam Dragon, where the only thing you can go into is Amazing Dragon. So if you had like this out, I think it hides your play a lot better. And then you also get more out of it. You get to draw 2 on your opponent's turn. You also can, yeah. So I think it's just fantastic. I want to find a way to make Dragster without the brain controller. And maybe that will be easier when the support comes out. But as of right now, it's a little difficult. So that is the list. Again, Punk is one of my favorite decks. In the next set, we're getting 2 new pieces of support, 1 main deck and 1 extra. And I think that will kind of help push it back into at least Rogue. If you like the video, like it. Trying to see if I enjoy doing YouTube. This was fun making it, and I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about my favorite deck. Hopefully we'll have a revised list with a few less gimmicks and a few more wins. Thank you.